Lanka in chaos. Hanuman sat on the mountain till midnight enjoying the beauty of Lanka. He was amazed to notice the richness and the serenity of that place. Observing Lanka and its prosperity, he understood that Ravana was a very efficient ruler who took great care of his people. Trying to assess Ravana's qualities and valor, Hanuman spent his time till midnight in order to gain entry into Lanka. Disguised as a tiny monkey, Hanuman climbed up the main wall of the palace and jumped inside. He started moving around the place in his tiny form, trying to trace the whereabouts of Sita. Though everyone else was fast asleep, a fierce demon and a female god named Lankini sensed his presence. She quickly caught hold of him and tried to kill him for entering into Lanka secretly. But Hanuman took his normal form and killed her after a fierce battle. As soon as he killed her, Lankini took the form of a divine woman and told him, "I have been guarding this city since a long time in the form of a demon due to a curse. I was told that a powerful monkey warrior would free me from the curse. I am glad you came here tonight. May you achieve success in the task you have undertaken." Saying so, Lankini vanished from there. After her, there was no one awake in Lanka to stop Hanuman. He roamed around all the places in search of Sita. Finally, he reached Ravana's chamber and found a beautiful lady fast asleep in his chamber. Seeing her, he initially mistook her to be Sita. Later, he realized that a divine woman like Sita would never accept to be placed in Ravana's chamber and cursed himself for thinking incorrectly. Quickly, he moved out of the chamber for the fear of waking up Ravana and decided to search for Sita in the remaining places. Out of desperation, he looked for her in the horse's stable too, but could not find her. Exhausted and frustrated, Hanuman sat down on the floor and started looking around for any other place he might have missed out. As he looked around, at some distance, he found a garden. "I haven't checked the garden yet. Maybe I can find Mother Sita there," he thought. Without wasting even a single minute, he reached the garden. That garden was nothing but Ashoka garden, where Ravana had imprisoned Sita. Hanuman jumped from one tree to another trying to locate Sita. Suddenly, under a tree, he saw a beautiful woman with a saddened face. As he was about to approach the tree, bright lights dazzled his eyes. In order to remain hidden, he quickly hid behind the branches of the tree he was on and looked at the source of light. As the guards announced his arrival, Ravana went straight to the tree under which Sita was seated. Addressing her, he said, "Sita, what have you decided? Do you still want to wait for the unfortunate exiled Rama, or would you like to experience all the comforts of being the queen of this great Ravana?" Holding a straw of dried grass in her hands, in order to maintain distance from Ravana, Sita replied, "Wicked man, you are alive today only because you abducted me when my husband was away. Otherwise, you would have been killed then itself. There is nothing for me to think. You only think twice and hand me over to my husband, asking for his forgiveness before it is too late. Otherwise, you would be killed mercilessly by him." On hearing her words, Ravana roared in anger and replied, "Stop talking about your husband now. A mere human like your husband cannot harm me. If you are under the impression that he would come for your rescue, then it is impossible." Ridiculing her, he again said, "How could a man who could not trace and rescue you since the past 10 months come now? I am giving you a time of 2 months more. Change your heart by then and accept me." Trembling with anger, Ravana left the wailing Sita and walked towards his palace, while a few demons that were guarding her frightened her by speaking about Ravana's might. Others sympathized with her and asked her to get some sleep. Soon all the gods fell asleep, but Sita sat there still crying, repeating the name of her Lord Rama continuously. Hanuman waited till the right time, and as soon as he confirmed that everyone was asleep, he jumped from the tree and bowed to Sita. He said, "Mother, please accept the respects of Hanuman, Lord Rama's messenger." Startled by his sudden appearance, Sita mistook his presence to another trick of Ravana and turned her face away. Hanuman immediately sensed her apprehension. In order to free her from her doubts, he took out Rama's ring and extended it to her. As Sita saw the ring with disbelief and joy, Hanuman explained to her everything about Rama's condition. Sita became sorrowful listening to Hanuman's words. As she shed silent tears, moved by her state, Hanuman said, "Mother, please do not worry. Now that I have traced you, Lord Rama would immediately come and rescue you within a short period. But if you think that you cannot stay here anymore, with your permission, I am ready to take you from here now itself. We would be at the lotus feet of Lord Rama before dawn." Surprised to see such a tiny being speaking of carrying her, Sita said, "But son, how could you do so when you are such a tiny creature?" Smiling at her words, Hanuman humbly replied, "Do not doubt my words, mother. I can surely accomplish the task I spoke of." Saying so, Hanuman rose to a great height and showed her his original form and strength. Sita was even more surprised to see a tiny creature grow so big in front of her eyes. But still she said, "Hanuman, no doubt you are an able person to take me away from here, but such an act would only leave a permanent mark on Lord Rama's character that he could not rescue his wife bravely. Moreover, there would be no difference left between Ravana and Rama if we do so. So please inform my lord that I am anxiously waiting for him to rescue me." She took out an ornament from her hair, placed it in Hanuman's hands, and requested him to hand it over to Rama. Hanuman took the ornament from her, hid safely, and sought Sita's permission to eat some fruits from the garden. When Sita permitted him to satisfy his hunger on the pretext of eating fruits, Hanuman created chaos in Lanka. After eating the fruits of each tree, he uprooted them and kicked them away. Within a few minutes, a beautiful Ashoka garden was destructed beyond recognition. As it was already done, some of the guards noticed his acts and confronted him. All such men who tried to stop him lay dead on the ground within seconds. As Hanuman continued to create ruckus, the remaining guards who had no courage to confront him ran to Ravana to inform him about the destruction. Highly angered by the news brought by his guards that a monkey had destroyed his beautiful garden, he roared at them for not being skilled enough to tackle a single monkey. Dismissing them from his court, he summoned his son Akshakumara and ordered him to put an end to the monkey. Bowing to his father, Akshakumara immediately started towards the garden with his men. Within a few minutes, Ravana received news that Akshakumara was dead. Unable to digest the fact that a mere monkey had killed his brave son, Ravana summoned his another son, Meghanada, who was not only brave but also talented. Promising not to return without the monkey, Meghanada went towards the garden. He was enraged when he saw the destroyed garden, his dead brother and gods. Thinking that the monkey was not an ordinary one, he decided to use the most powerful weapons against him. Meghanada's powerful weapons too could not harm Hanuman. Frustrated with Hanuman's strength and determined not to return empty-handed, Meghanada finally used Brahmastra on Hanuman. Having received a boon that even Brahmastra cannot harm him, Hanuman stood fearlessly as Meghanada shot it at him. But on a second thought, Hanuman decided to surrender to Meghanada and got tied up by it. Immediately, Meghanada led him to Ravana's court triumphantly. As soon as Hanuman entered the court, to Meghanada's surprise, he shook himself free of the bandage. He stood in the center of the court and looked at Ravana. As Hanuman was spellbound by Ravana's radiance momentarily, Ravana roared at him angrily and said, "Wicked monkey, how did you enter Lanka? Why did you come here and why did you destroy the garden?" In reply to his questions, Hanuman said, "O king, first learn to respect your guests. If you can wait for a while, I would answer all your questions." Saying so, he grew his tail and length, circled it, and made a high seat for him. He at once jumped above and sat on his tail. Looking down at Ravana, who was seated far below, he said, "I am the minister of Sugriva, the king of Kishkinda. As a messenger of Lord Rama, I came here in search of Mother Sita. I saw her here, but before I left Lanka, I wanted to advise you to ask for Lord Rama's forgiveness. That's why I destroyed your garden and surrendered to your son intentionally to meet you. Follow my advice and change your mind before it is too late." As Hanuman counseled Ravana, unable to bear his words, Ravana yelled at him and asked him to stop talking at once. Turning to his courtiers, he said, "My brave man, kill this monkey right away." As soon as Ravana passed his orders, Vibhishana, his brother, stood up and said, "Brother, do not be hasty. It is not fair to kill someone who had visited our kingdom as a messenger. Please leave him free." Though Ravana dismissed the thought of killing Hanuman, he did not want to leave him free without punishment. He ordered his men to light his tail afire. As the courtiers attempted to wrap clothes around his tail, Hanuman increased his tail in length. As the frustrated courtiers struggled to finish their job, Hanuman stood amused and watched the fun. Finally, taking pity on them, Hanuman allowed them to light his tail. As the courtiers heaved a sigh of relief, amused Hanuman bade them farewell and flew around Lanka with his burning tail, setting fire to each and every corner of the beautiful city. After burning down the golden Lanka to ashes, Hanuman visited Sita again, took her permission, and headed back to the sea in order to put out the fire on his tail. Soon, with the same vigor and strength, Hanuman returned to his team, who awaited his return anxiously.